Hi there, and welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be covering 10 things I'd like to see in War Thunder. Now, this is a personal wish list and a general proposing of ideas that can generate further content for me to go further into depth with, or to create a discussion in the comments section. Don't be afraid to leave feedback and your thoughts or feelings on the topics that are covered. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy the video. It's the Tog, enough said. It was a heavy tank prototype from 1940 designed by the same group of people who worked on British tanks during the First World War. The tank was designed with trench warfare in mind, but was horribly obsolete by the time World War II was in full swing. Yes, it may be slow and sticks out like a sore thumb, but the 17-pounder cannon can still pack a punch against anyone who crosses it. That, and it's a novel tank that only had one prototype built, and deserves more exposure outside of World of Tanks, the Bovington Tank Museum, and tank memes. The closest thing we have to the Tog II in game is the Excelsior, which might as well be a mini Tog in my opinion. War Thunder is lacking in the novelty department these days, which leads into point number 2. We have the Ram 2 and the premium M5A1 for our light and medium Canadian tanks. Now we just need some Canadian anti-air in the form of quad 20mm cannons on a Sherman chassis. 3 prototypes were built, but the project was cancelled due to the Luftwaffe practically being non-existent by 1944. If I remember correctly, it was past developers within the past 2 years, so there may be a chance that we get the skink via the summer or winter events in the future. I don't have any clever transition in my script, so we're moving on to number 3, which is the French Navy. Where is it, Gaijin? Why have we not had a single bit of information regarding the Marine Nationale? There's mutterings of the Chinese Navy coming to the game in the future, but let's be honest, it's just going to be more copy-paste with very little native design. Any native design it will have will most likely be in the higher BRs of the tech tree, just like the air and ground tech trees. The Chinese Navy would not be a worthwhile time investment, as it is my least played tech tree in the entire game, as I'm sure it is for many players out there. France would be a far more interesting navy to be introduced, as they offer destroyers like the La Fantastique class of large destroyers that are meant to counter the Italian Condottieri class destroyers. Their cruisers were no joke either, and neither is the large list of pre-dreadnoughts, dreadnoughts, and fast battleships to fill out their top tier. Anyone want to play the Dunkirk and Richelieu? Their submarines weren't too shabby either, with the potential for the unique Surcouf to have her time to shine at War Thunder as an example of a cruiser submarine. Speaking of submarines, we know the mechanics for submarines are there from the Silent Thunder events. Now, they just need to come into the game properly. Subs could potentially offer a new naval experience that is a world apart from the typical cycle of sailing around, bombarding the enemy, and surviving aircraft. A submarine player could become their own lone wolf in the dark waters of naval gameplay, an opportunistic hunter among minefields, or a trolley anomaly on the sonar screens of subchasers and destroyers. Naturally, if a submarine were to enter the more shallow waters of a naval map, a more rewarding challenge may be found there as they dodge torpedo boats or conduct surface clashes with their limited deck-mounted weaponry. Overall, submarines would be a nice balance against heavier targets like dreadnoughts and battleships. However, submarines can only balance from beneath the waves. In reality, one aircraft didn't go against a lone vessel or fleet. It was a whole swarm of aircraft. We have the mechanics for a flight of 4 aircraft, the player and 3 AI wingmen, in the single-player missions, so why not incorporate the same mechanics for naval casts? The mechanic would need an update so that anything the AI accomplishes is credited to the player. For example, in the case that the player is shot down, but their AI managed to get a bomb hit or torpedo strike, the player can still get credit as it was their wingman who managed to accomplish the task. A flight of 4 would have a better chance of taking down a larger target, especially a battleship, especially as naval technology continues to advance and larger ships become more protected from the air. But what good is a flight of 4 when naval gameplay is in danger of losing what battle rating balance it barely has? A max battle rating of 6.0 is not enough. Battleships continue to absolutely stomp matches where they out-endure destroyers and cruisers. Most small and medium vessels don't have the firepower or armor to go toe-to-toe with the dreadnoughts in game, as their shells barely punch through the thicker armor. Plus, it's not exactly easy to rally a team of friendly ships to take down a pub-stomping Hyuga or Imperatrica Maria. With the introduction of the Hyuga, it is apparent that Gaijin is going full steam ahead with larger, heavier armored, harder hitting vessels. It's only a matter of time until we see iconic vessels like the Hood, Bismarck, Yamato, and even the Iowa class of ships appear in their respective tech trees. What's one to do against these heavily protected, top-of-the-line ships? But let's step away from the future worries of top-tier naval, yeah? To quote Ash in a recent video of his, World War I tech is slow and flimsy, but everything has to start somewhere, right? In terms of air power, it exploded in 1915, and most fighting nations had a plethora of aircraft that can more than make up a separate World War I research tab, much like how helicopters and naval have their own tabs. For armor, that's going to need a bit of finessing to make work, as most nations only fought with armored cars when armor was becoming more prevalent. Some nations can use captured tech, like how Germany captured some British tanks and pressed them into service. Hell, Britain can even have a premium A7V in the form of the Australian captured A7V. I also feel that War Thunder is a sandbox that can let anything have a chance to shine. So why not World War I tech? Who wouldn't love to soar around in a Sopwith Camel over some World War I trenches and engage in gritty dogfights with Fokker triplanes? Or fly a Gothica bomber and cruise through the skies in formation with their friends? Many of these aircraft were essentially the early predecessors to later aircraft we know and love. Like I said in the last point, everything deserves a chance to be experienced in War Thunder's sandbox. The 20s and 30s truly had some interesting developments in air, ground, and naval technology that can offer players a nice escape from the struggles of top-tier gameplay. After all, low tier, fun tier. And isn't War Thunder supposed to be fun? And, realistically, it's going to be a matter of time until Gaijin runs out of modern technology that they can bring into the game. Most of it is still heavily classified, which would make top tier even more guesswork. The only logical step? Return to the core of what made War Thunder the standout game that it started out as, which was a way for people to experience wartime technology that came before their time in life. Otherwise, the only other step is start making shit up and turn into World of Tanks. Now, there are some things that only made it to the blueprint or prototype stage that could offer some more novelty to the game. Number 9 might contradict number 8 a bit, but more prototype vehicles deserve the chance to see the light of day again, so to say. Aircraft like the Vought XF5U, the earlier mentioned Tog and Skink, whatever made it to a functional prototype stage, it deserves an equal chance at being played. Now, I know some talented creators out there have made user missions and user models that may or may not be brought into the game later on, but I'd much rather see them sooner than later. To boot, these vehicles shouldn't be locked behind an event grind wall, as everyone should be able to play these prototypes whenever they can obtain them. Personally, I don't always have the time to sit down and grind out events for cool vehicles, as, life and work are a priority for myself and many others in the world. Make these prototypes typical premiums that we can buy for Golden Eagles, or maybe even folder some with vehicles that they are classified with. And number 10 isn't even actually anything for War Thunder. I just hope you guys like the video, and I hope you subscribe for more content that's going to follow in the future. I'm still feeling out which direction I'd like to take my content and the channel, and I hope this video helps shape that image of what I want things to become. That, and I'm still trying to find a nice balance between working at Starbucks and creating content for you guys to listen to. Other than that, I hope you stay tuned for more, and I definitely hope I see you back here soon. Thanks for listening.